Hi guys, and welcome back once again to the South Korean ladder in September 2025. Once again I found a very good game. This is actually the third game which I'm casting from Jaedong. He is quite active as he's spawning here in the upper right as the blue Zerg, and his opponent here in the lower left as the white Protoss. Sadly I don't know who he is. Very high APM here, however for him. Game has been played of course on the South Korean ladder S rank, so more than 2300 MMR for both players. Should be a very interesting game, as you can see from the timer, 20-minute mark. Quite a strong replay here, and of course I've casted an international game in between Jaedong and Devault, and also Jaedong versus Rush here onto this channel today on Sunday. I believe today is the 90th of September, the 90th of 20th of September. This game, however, I believe has been played around the 15th of September 2025 for a spawning location map. There's the overlord for Jaedong, goes now into a spawning pool, so interesting decision here for him, as the Protoss already built here his pylon and already scouting the map early on, just like Devault did versus him. So this could be a cannon rush attempt here by the Protoss if he's sending out a second probe towards scouting. So a forge could of course be built here by the Protoss, and it could be a cannon rush just like Devault has done versus Jaedong. Of course I'm not going to spoil more towards this, and it is actually a forge, so this seems to be a new meta by the Protosses versus the Zerg, as finally the probe is reaching now the expansion point here. And interesting enough, Jaedong not having an expansion here, so the probe could either return or just keeps on scouting. Now finally he sees the drone. And is Jaedong going to expand? No, he's actually just going for mass zergling. So very interesting decision by him. With that, of course, the attempt by the cannon rush here from the Protoss pretty much in vain. There is a little bit of a battle going on in between a drone and a probe, and the drone takes it quite convincingly. Low HP, but still the hatchery has started now here for him, and actually that now the attempt here by the Protoss with the cannon rush pretty much has been taken off here by Jaedong. He has to build his cannons at home. He has to play defensively. Nothing, literally nothing into the main. No gateway, no cybernetic score, just the forge and the two cannons. Of course the two cannons will be able to hold the Zergling harassment early on, as the two cannons can one-shot of course a Zergling. That's exactly what has happened here. So let's just see if Jaedong is going to commit. Is he going to perhaps make more Zerglings here? No, he's actually playing safe as well. He's going for a second hatchery, second expansion here for him. So with that, of course, the Protoss just has to guess what exactly is coming towards his way. It could be a timing push by Jaedong. There is a gap here, so he could be sneaky, just move here forward and go straight towards the main from the Protoss. Interesting enough, the Protoss not deciding to close this gap right here with a probe or two. But yeah, Jaedong actually decides to be more macro oriented, to go for his hatcheries, to play the more safe here, as he's even scouting the low right part here onto the map. So we do have a more defensive gameplay here by the Protoss. Same can be said here for Jaedong, who's also playing very safe. I believe the tier 2 might start very soon. Either that or Jaedong is going to be joining up very heavily here. Could also be a transitioning towards a Hydralisk Den, and a timing push at around the 11-minute mark could also be a possibility here for Jaedong. Either he could also upgrade the speed for the overlords, and he could also drop some units here into the main from the Protoss. As it should be of course the cybernetic score. The Protoss has to of course go for a starport. He has to scout the map very soon. He has to also try his luck to snap some of those overlords from JD, as JD actually goes for more drones. There's speed for the Zerglings. There's the starport, actually Stargate, and we have a second hatchery here for him into the main. No attempts here by him yet to go for the tier 2 upgrade. With that, he has to go for some Hydralisk, as the first Corsairs will arrive very soon towards his bases. Even some Zealots are moving out here, but of course Jaedong with speed for the Zerglings, he should be fine here very soon, in case an attempt is happening here by the opponent. So yeah, let's see what exactly his plans are, what exactly he's actually going for a Hydralisk Den. So no tier 2 upgrade for him, but the Corsair is going to be able to see this very soon as the Protoss takes now the initiative, moves out onto the map, tries of course to gain more map awareness. Sadly for him, loses a Zealot here into this attempt. And yeah, the first Corsair is going to be finished very soon, but with that the Hydras then is also finished. The first Hydras will hatch very soon. There comes the attack from the Protoss. Also scouting here the map, sees the double hatchery, sees even the tier 2 first Hydras is getting produced by JD. And a nice spread here by the Protoss, just moving his Zealots around the map, trying of course to snipe some of those drones, being able to snipe some of the Zerglings here from JD. A very smart move by the Protoss, as indeed JAEDONG looks like he's going for a rush attempt with mass Hydrisk versus the opponent. This is of course going to force the Protoss to go for more cannons. High Templars will also be a must here for him in order to pretty much obliterate all of those Hydrisk from the opponent. So yeah, quite interesting start we have here early on. Corsair is out onto the map. We are going to close towards the 10-minute mark. Not that many Hydrisk are getting produced now here for JD. I believe he's going for some Scourge in order to counter the Corsair gameplay here by the opponent, as yet another hatchery is getting produced here by him. So yes, so many hatcheries, 2 into this location, 1 here and 2 at his main. He is actually now at 5 hatcheries. So with that of course the production of Hydrisk could start very soon. Even some Zerglings, as finally the first Overlord is going to be sniped here. And more patrolling is happening here onto the map by the Protoss. So the map pretty much in control of the Protoss. JD has to stay back, he has to defend his Overlords. And there's the speed from the Overlords, of course, it had to be done, as speed for the Hydras will also start very soon here for JD. There's the High Templar Archives, sorry, as yeah, the Corsairs have a very good patrolling here, having great vision. He's perhaps going to try to snipe another Overlord, but there's just so many Hydras onto the ground here for JD, and speed is also about to get finished for the Overlords, so he should be fine. The harassment from the Corsairs isn't really going to work out. One Overlord has been sniped, that was very good here for the Protoss, but in the end I believe that's pretty much all he can do right now, as there's so many Hydras on the ground here for JD, being ready to defend the Overlords. And we also have a evolution chamber here for him, going for attack for the Hydras. There we have another hatchery, so now very soon to be 6 hatcheries for JD, as the Protoss now is moving forward with upgraded Zealots. Is he going for a sunken? No, he's just pretty much droning up, having the high ground, but there's so many Zealots now moving here forward. Great block here by JD. Let's see how this is going to work out either way, and that's of course the strategy here for the Protoss, is trying to of course keep the Hydrisk busy with the Zealots, and in the end the Corsairs will be able to snap some of those Overlords. However, JD bringing back his reinforcements here, he should be able to hold. Some Overlords might get snapped, even some drones might be snapped. Of course Hydras are taking damage, but in the end, in time, I believe JAEDONG is or should be able to hold this quite convincingly. So quite a strong move out here by the Protoss, going for some more Overlords. This is of course his tactics. He's going to try to keep JD supply blocked, being able to snap 3 Overlords, but JAEDONG immediately producing more and more of those Overlords, as we do have the High Templar Storm ability started now here for the Protoss. Let's just see how many gateways he's going for. Almost 5 now, even 6 into his main, having the 7th one here out, and having already 4 High Templars. So with that he should of course be able to hold any early aggression by JAEDONG. So yeah, those High Templars are a very important unit here. Of course JAEDONG might try to go for some Mutalisk in order to snipe those those High Templars in the back. So Mutalisk of course with their speed, very good counter towards the High Templars, as I believe JAEDONG even preparing here another expansion attempt, as the Protoss once again is moving out with his Zealots. Let's check his upgrades very quickly. 1 weapons upgrade, where exactly is he going to attack? Perhaps here, and let's see, Lurker has been started here for JD. Of course Lurker is perfect counter towards all of those Hydrisk, towards all of those Zealots onto the ground, and with this move out And the Protoss might take the initiative here, but he's pretty much getting surrounded here. Very impatient gameplay here by the Protoss, moving forward, but there's also many high risk here ready to defend, and another Corsair has also been sniped, as the production is now very strong here for JD at 43 workers already, moving out now also by himself with his high risk, having 1 weapons upgrade, 2 base Protoss versus 3 base Zerg, soon to be I believe a 4 base Zerg, as this move out here by JD is very likely also preparing himself for another expansion, and a smart move by him, cancelling this expansion point by the Protoss, buying himself more time. And yeah, sadly here for the Protoss, quite impatient gameplay. Those zealots would have been great back at home to defend. And yeah, like I told you, the transportability by the overlords could also be starting here for JD. He could pretty much bypass all of those dragoons, just drop some units here into the main. All of those cannons can also be bypassed, as we did indeed pass the 10-minute mark. JD now pretty much in control of the map, also taking this important expansion point and also going for the lurkers. Yeah, with that the defense is getting even stronger here by JD versus all of the ground units here from the opponent. However, the Protoss has a nice mix of units, dragoons with zealots and with the important high templars, maximum energy, so 2 storms can be casted, even 3 later on. So yeah, Jaedong tries to snap now 1 high templar. Good move by him. Some hybrids have been sacrificed, but a very smart move by him, killing 2 high templar storms. So very good and nicely done here. But I believe he only lost around 6 hybrids, but it was pretty much all worthy, snapping the important damage dealer here from the Protoss. Those high templars quite deadly. However, the micro is very good here by the Protoss. He's snapping more and more hybrids. Jaedong has to somehow spread his units very soon, as the attack is commencing here forward by the Protoss with reinforcements in the back. The Protoss really wants to cancel the expansion point from the opponent. A very good storm has been casted. Storm on the high ground. Pretty good stuff here by the Protoss, but slowly but steadily his energy is going to be pretty much depleted here. However, those storms are getting some great connections here versus JD's forces. Now we do have lurkers onto the ground, backed up by more reinforcements here for Jaedong, so the defense is looking quite good for him. At the same time, the Hydralisk in the middle of the map will be able to take care of those zealots. And yeah, with that, of course, Jaedong taking some casualties, but in the end an important push has been taken back here by JD, as he's actually moving once again forward towards this expansion point right here. Now the Protoss can react, of course, with zealots, and let's just see if JD is going to be able to snap this expansion. I'm not really attempting to go for this, and yeah, the Protoss should of course be able to hold. Another group of Hybrids is moving forward, but the Protoss in a very good situation right here, losing some dragoons, but in the end those storms pretty much just clearing the way here for the Protoss, as he's now even going for some Archons. And yeah, more High Templars will be very likely created here for the Protoss, as it is indeed the perfect counter towards the sheer masses of the Zerg here onto this map. Economic wise, Jaedong is in a very good shape, closing towards the same worker amount, but remember the Protoss only established now his base right here, going for some cannons. Of course this base is really important for him. And yeah, let's see how the game is going to commence. Perhaps Jaedong is going to try to play even more safe. Perhaps he's going to try to take yet another expansion point, as he's nicely spreading his units here, lurkers with Hydralisk versus the sheer mass from the Protoss, dragoons with zealots and those important High Templars, having 2 armor here for him. Let's check JD, 2 weapons upgrades for him. As the game continues, nice spread here, of course, very important to have your lurkers spreaded against the High Templar storm. And Jaedong might just try to kite his units back and forth, just snipe 1 dragoon or 2, move back towards the safe lurkers. And yeah, let's check his main, still tier 2, still 2 hatcheries at each point that we do have an attack happening here. The Protoss now pretty much committing here forward. The observers are in the front, the zealots, not that many zealots are being left, actually some zealots in the back here. JD tried to surround the units from the Protoss, might be lucky to snap another High Templar here, as another defensive storm has to be casted here for the Protoss. In the meantime, the Protoss can of course take another expansion point here, so pretty good attack by him. As yeah, we will pass the 15-minute mark. It's still anyone's game. who is going to be the victor, as pretty much looks like the Protoss is pretty much going to throw everything he has towards this expansion point. Jaedong having only a couple of hydro here, so this could be a very good move by the Protoss, and it looks like it's going for a base trade scenario. However, there's also many cannons here. We do have High Templars in the back. The Protoss should react very soon, as Jaedong is moving here forward, snapping the High Templars once again. A very good move out by him. The Protoss actually decides to stop the base trade scenario and goes back to defend. 2 cannons only here, no High Templars, as another Great Storm has been casted here, so a lot of multitasking happening here. Jaedong is moving forward smartly here for him, being able to snap the economy from the opponent. Of course, he's going to sacrifice those units here, but in the end, it looks like it was pretty much all worthy, given the fact that the Protoss has now dropped to 39 workers. He might even be lucky to snap the Nexus here. That's exactly what Jaedong is trying to be doing, but in the end, the Protoss is going to be able to take care of that. So a very nice base trade scenario. However, in the end, Jaedong forcing the Protoss to come back to defend, as the newly established base is also now under attack. And yeah, the Protoss should be able to hold, but he did take quite some economic casualties. However, Jaedong has also lost so many units here for him, so the Protoss really has to hurry up right now, try to of course attack the main or the expansion point from the opponent. Good micro here by the Protoss. Same can be said of course here by Jaedong. Jaedong tries to buy some time now. He has to recover supply wise. He's pretty much behind those Dragoons, and Zealots are very strong versus JD, so he has to be careful. He has to kite those units back and forth. Now tries of course to snap the important Zealots in the front. High Templars are slowly but steadily moving here forward. There is a storm happening here. More will follow very soon. I don't think that Jaedong should fight this. He just needs to buy some time for his economy to recover. Snapping some Dragoons in the front. Very good micro here by him. Same can be said how here by the Protoss, who is also nicely microing his units, but the Zealots are sadly for him in the back, so the Hybrids can move forward. Some High Templar Storms are getting some good connections here for both players. And as yeah, who's going to be the victor? The Protoss still looking in great shape. Sadly here for Jaedong, he's just losing more and more units. Even though he has the economic advantage, he has 10 more workers than his opponent. He shouldn't be fighting this, and actually Jaedong is actually GGing out here. So quite an interesting move by him. I don't understand why exactly he did fought. He could have just stayed back, perhaps just add some lurkers. Even some Sunkens could have been added here by him. A little bit of an impatient gameplay here by JD. Not that much really would have been left here for the Protoss, but he decides to fight. Perhaps the Protoss just pretty much try to obliterate the expansion point and the main here from JD. Yeah, interesting decision. I believe Jaedong had of course the economic advantage. It would have of course been even better for him to snap this Nexus right here. Perhaps in the end Jaedong just giving up, having way too many casualties right here. And yeah, interesting decision. Not that many lurkers have also not been available for him. Quite a close game, but in the end the Protoss somehow being able to take this. And yeah, Jaedong a little bit impatient here. Perhaps he just tried to kite those Hydras back and forward, just try to inflict more damage towards the opponent. But yeah, I believe it was quite unnecessary. Maybe it was just late in the night and JD just wanted to go to sleep. Who knows, maybe he wasn't feeling that good. But yeah, in the end I believe a mistake here by Jaedong. If you ask me, perhaps you have a different opinion. The economy was still in his favor. He could have just retreated, just add some Sunkens in the back. But I guess that's not the style here from Jaedong. He just wants to overwhelm his opponent with the sheer mass of the Zerg. So yeah, unit wise, many units have been killed here by the Protoss, of course, thanks to the High Templar Storms. Structure wise, let's have a look at the resources. 2k more mined here as minerals for JD, so his economy would have been even better into the late game if you ask me, as he had 10 more workers than the opponent. But yeah, in the end he decides to give up. So interesting decision here by JD. I believe he was still into the game. He would have been even in better shape if he would have stayed back, but of course it's his decision. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's of course the best Zerg in the world, and I sadly have no idea who this Protoss is. He played very well. Nice micro by him, great storms by him, good connections. And yeah, the Protoss winning this interesting game here in September 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's Tommy signing out.